Hello everybody, and welcome to this lesson about shots, angles, and movement of the camera. In this lesson, we'll go through all the different shot types, camera angles, and camera movement. This is my second lesson out of the 2 filmmaking lessons I have done, the other one being about storyboards and basically how to make them. You can find that lesson in the description of this video on my website. I hope this video here can be useful to you in many different ways, since this video can be used for just you to learn about shot types, or if you are a teacher, this video can be used for you to see how this lesson is presented. If you want to have access to the slides as well as the lesson plan, you can go into the link into my description where you can find my website, where you can access basically the slides and the lesson plan. Well, that's sort of it for the introduction, so let's get into this lesson. The lesson objectives is to know the different shot types, camera angles, and camera movement, understand how they affect the scene, and be able to use them in your own filmmaking. This lesson covers shot types, camera angles, and camera movement. After we learnt about all of that, you'll be able to identify them in films and use them in your own films. Now, first of all, what do you know about shot types? What do you know and what do you not know? Discuss. Maybe you could just think about it by yourself, maybe create a little mind map on a piece of paper. Just think about prior knowledge you know of, and maybe what are the things you don't really know about. The first section that we'll talk about are shot types, the different types of shot types, and how we use them. First of all, what does this shot show? Just have a look at it, see what's in the shot, the composition of the shot, all that. Now, if you don't know the name of this shot, it is called a wide shot, also known as the establishing shot. It shows the full body of the subject as well as their surroundings. In this shot, we can see the character's full body and their surroundings. A wide shot is quite simple to understand. It's just the full character's surroundings and their environment, so you can see what is around them and what are they doing. It's also called an establishing shot, but that's mainly for when it's used to establish a scene. So normally a scene will open with a wide shot, and that wide shot is then called an establishing shot. What about this shot? What does it show? Just think about the composition, think about what's in the shot, think about how the shot is framed, and what might this shot be called? Well, it's called a medium shot. It shows the full body of the subject from the waist up, used in mainly dialogue scenes. In this shot, we see half of the character's body and what they're doing, and this character, you can see, is reading a book. How about these two shots? Just think about what might they be called and what are they showing. This first one here is called the close-up. It shows the subject from the shoulders to the top of their head, used to show facial expressions. Here you can see the character's expression. Now, what's even closer than a close-up? Well, it's an extreme close-up, where an object or item fills the entire frame, used to bring attention to a really specific detail. Here you can see an extreme close-up on their face. Now here, this close-up could have been even more closer, but still is quite a good example of an extreme close-up, and normally the most common example of extreme close-ups are a person's eyes. Now, to quickly recap, I've made this little visual representation of a little spectrum to basically show shot types can be put on a little spectrum, with, to the left of it, the wider shots, and to the right, the more closer shots. So here, the wide shot, the medium shot, and the close-up and the extreme close-up, but there are also 2 shots here that I did not discuss, and it is the cowboy shot and the medium close-up. Now, the medium close-up is quite good to know, since when talking about shot types, it's brought up a lot. The medium close-up doesn't really need so much explaining. It's closer than a medium shot and also used in dialogue scenes. The cowboy shot, also known as the full shot, is called the cowboy shot since it's used mainly in westerns. It shows the character's waist and their full upper body. The waist is where the gun holster will be, which means you will be able to see if the person has a gun or not in their waist, which then they will pull out to do a standoff. That normally happens in a western, and it's used a lot also in superhero movies. It's mainly just to show what's on the character's waist and what's their expression. In this next section, we'll talk about camera angles. Now here are 3 different shots. Could you maybe identify what these shots are called? This first one here on the very top is called the high angle, filmed from above eye level, used to make the subject feel smaller and more vulnerable. It's like a giant looking down. And here it's used to show what the character is pointing at in the book. They're basically reading a book and they're pointing at it. And what are they pointing at? Well, this shot shows it. Now, if this is called a high angle, what do you think these 2 bottom ones are called? If the high angle is from above the eye level, what do you think is on the eye level? Well, it's the eye level shot. It's filmed from from the eye level of the subject, used to make the viewer feel on the same level as the subject. And here you just see the character's expression. Now this final one, what's the opposite of a high angle shot? It's a low angle shot, filmed from below the subject's eye level, used to make the subject feel bigger and more powerful, often called a hero angle. Now the contrasting things between the high angle and the low angle is the high angle can be used to make the character feel more vulnerable, as here. A good example is normally in superhero movies, or when there is a hero character fighting an antagonist or something, and when the character is vulnerable, they're in a state of where they're about to lose. A high angle shot is normally used, basically showing the character is vulnerable, showing how small the character feels and how they are. While a low angle shot, when the hero is at their highest point, they have won their battle. They will have a hero angle or a low angle to show how big the character feels, how great the character is. And an eye level can be used to basically get on the character's level, because you're not above them or below them. You're on their level. It can be a way for your audience to sympathize with their character. Now these are 3 more camera angles. They don't necessarily follow the same rule as high angle, eye level, and low angle. This is a bit more varied, but could you maybe guess what this first one is? I'll give you a little hint. We are looking at the book from the character's perspective. This means it's a POV shot, which stands for point of view. It is taken from the character's perspective, used to see what the character is seeing. So here you can see what the character is seeing as what's on the book. This one in the middle is from behind the character, and you can see what the character is reading. And this is called an OTS shot, stands for over the shoulder, taken from behind the character's shoulder, used in dialogue scenes, but also to see what the character is seeing. So these two are quite similar. However, this one basically puts you, the audience, in the shoes and basically in the character. You see what the character is actually seeing. Well, this, you do see what the character is seeing, but you don't feel like you are the character. You feel like you're with the character. You are on the character's level, and you can basically see what they're seeing. You see the character's perspective, but you are not the character. You just are with the character. Now this next one doesn't really relate to these two. This one is on a tilt. Looks like something isn't right or it's uneasy. Well, it's called a Dutch angle, taken when the camera is on a tilt. It's used to create a sense of unease. This is quite simple to do. Just turn your camera on a tilt, and basically you have a Dutch angle. It creates a sense of unease or uncertainty. So when something is not right, you can use a Dutch angle to basically show that it doesn't feel right here. Now let's play a little game where I'll show you 6 different shots and you should identify them. Each shot is worth 2 points. The first one is the most important one, is what camera angle is used, what camera angle is it, while the second point is for if you can guess what movie it's from. But really, if you just get 6 points, you're winning it because you know all the camera angles. This first one, well, it's from the first Avengers movie, and it's taken from above the character's eye level, which means it's a high angle shot. This next one here is from E.T., and it looks like there's 2 eye holes. I mean, that could signify it's a POV shot, which it is. The character, I don't know who's in it. Basically, you are in the costume with the character, and you can see out of the costume. You can see these 2 eye holes. That's normally a POV shot. This third one, I think it's from Titanic. This one is a over-the-shoulder shot, or an OTS shot, because it's taken from behind the character's shoulder. This fourth one here is from The Matrix, and it's below the eye level, which means it's a low-angle shot. This next one, it's on a tilt. I believe it's from Mission Impossible. Well, and because it's on a tilt, it's a Dutch angle. This final one, I believe, is from Game of Thrones, and it's an eye level. It's the most normal one out of them. You're on the character's eye level. This next section, we'll talk about camera movement. Now, instead of showing static images, I'll be showing you videos because you're going to need to see the movement of the camera. Now, this first one is the tracking shot. The tracking shot is when the camera moves along with a subject tracking them. If done purposely, it can generate 2 questions. Where is the character going? What will happen when the character gets there? Now, this video here, I'll not be showing, you can check it out on your own, is from the movie 1917, which is a war film, but it's very interesting technically, since it is taken in one long take. Now, a long take is basically like a tracking shot, but is very long. So it could be, instead of it being cut between different shots, it doesn't seem like it's cut at all, and it seems like it's just one take. Now, what's happening in this shot? Could you maybe identify what this type of camera movement is called, or basically what's in the shot? Well, what did you see? And what do you think it's called? Well, it's called a pan. It's when the camera moves on a horizontal axis looking from left to right, used to follow a character and reveal new information. This is not really a good example of a pan, but a pan really just moves on a horizontal axis from left to right and can basically be used to move from left to right, and is when the camera is static. This is similar to a tracking shot because it can track a character going from one side of a room to another. However, a tracking shot is when the camera moves along with the character, while in a pan, the camera is still, but sort of pans. Now, what about this shot? Now, a pan moves on a horizontal axis from left to right. This seems like it moves on a vertical axis. It went from down to up. That is called a tilt. A tilt is when the camera moves on a vertical axis. It looks up or down. Similar to a pan, used to reveal new information or to show a character. And by show a character, I mean can reveal a character by just showing their shoes first, then tilting up to see their full presence. It can be used to switch between a low angle shot and a high angle shot and vice versa. So really, a pan and a tilt, they're very similar. One's a horizontal axis and one is a vertical axis. This next one is the zoom. I'm not going to get you to guess it since it's very common and you probably know it. The zoom is when the camera moves or zooms into or away from the subject. Now, it's good to identify the difference between a zoom and a push in or push out. A zoom is when the camera is static, the camera is still, but it zooms in using the zoom feature on the camera. A push in or a push out is when the camera physically pushes in or pushes out of a subject. Now, this can be used to reveal new information, such as it can start on a close-up and zooms out to a wide shot, and it can be basically just used to change between close-up and wide shots. Now, to quickly recap everything, so with shot types we learned the wide shot, the cowboy shot, the medium close-up, the close-up, and the extreme close-up. With camera angles we learned the high angle, the eye level, the low angle, the point of view, the over the shoulder, and the Dutch angle. And with camera movement, we've learnt the tracking shot, the pan, the tilt, and the zoom. In this next section, we'll be identifying the shots, angles, and movements that we have learned within a scene. So I want you to watch the film and see if you can identify the different shot types, camera angles, and camera movement within the film. So just watch it and see what you see.
Yes, hello, this is me. What? It's cancelled, but they have to do it, otherwise she'll die. No. No. I'm going there right away.
That's a little unexpected short film. It's short, but it's an effective use of different camera angles. Now discuss what shot types, camera angles, and camera movements did you see in the film. Now, can you identify these shots? Here are just different screenshots from the film and see if you can just identify them. Here are the answers. The first one is a wide shot, then it goes to a tracking shot, then a medium shot, then a wide shot, then a close-up, and then back to a wide shot. The thing is, there's not a big varied use of shot types used, and there's just one camera angle used, and really everything's on an eye level shot, and there could have been like a POV and over the shoulder or something. There could have been another camera angle used. So if you want to just look at this, maybe you could refilm the film and improve it. Such as, I'll give you some examples of how this film can be improved. Maybe instead of a close-up, you could add an extreme close-up of the person's eyes. Maybe you could add some high angle or low angles. Since the character is in a panic, maybe add a high angle to show that the character is currently now vulnerable. Just see how you can develop this scene. Now in this next section, I'll give you a choice of 3 activities which you can take part in. You can do them all. This is to test your knowledge, to see how you can use shot types, camera angles, and camera movement. The first activity is to create a shot list. A shot list is a document, like a screenplay or a storyboard, which lists the main shots of a scene. Use this shot list template to create your own shot list. And if you click on that link, or if you go to my website, you will be able to find this template. But a shot list is quite important to a film's production, since it's like a screenplay or a storyboard, but sort of is just a list, and is like a checklist, you could say. Since on the day of the shoot, you will look at the shot list and just see all the different shots you need to film. But if you know your story, create a shot list. Create it to basically list all the shots you want. Maybe there is a shot you're not quite sure of. You might want to use it in the final edit, or you might not want to. just add it. You'll do it and you have it, and you can have the choice to add it or not. The next activity is to film a scene from a shot list. Use this filled out shot list to film the scene which is shown on it. Try to follow the overall story of the scene. Try to see if there are certain things you can change from the original scene. And another challenge would be to try and film the scene, but in one take. If you mess up, try to improvise or redo the scene. And then here you can find the example shot list. This is the same filled out shot list from the previous slide, but just use this and film the scene. But you don't have to follow it exactly, you can of course, but really you could change things up a little bit. Maybe instead of a tracking shot you could have a pan, maybe instead of a high angle you could have a low angle, but just change it a little bit. The final activity is to look at an existing scene. Find a scene online from a popular movie, then look at the scene and see how the decision of shot types, camera angles, and camera movement affect the scene. You can follow along to an example of an analysis with this scene from Paddington. So this is just a scene from Paddington, one of my beloved films. Here you just choose a scene, any favorite scene, you analyze it. And I'm just going to show you a quick example of just a very simple analysis you can do. When doing your own analysis, I recommend you to go more in depth. So here are different shots from Paddington. Maybe you could see if you could identify them again. This first shot is an establishing shot. This shot establishes the scene is set in a train station. It also establishes the first action of the scene, which is the train coming into the station. So maybe on a shot list, this might say train arriving in train station. This next shot is a wide tracking shot. This shot is following some of the main characters of the film, which is the Brown family. And here it just shows the characters getting off and just going along the platform. Now these next two shots it shows a low angle shot. This shot shows Mrs. Brown from a lower angle as she is sort of a savior to Paddington in the moment. Just go up and watch the scene to fully understand what I'm saying here. This is a wide shot. This is a wide shot showing Paddington and Mrs. Brown in the same shot. This shows Mrs. Brown fighting Paddington. And if you watch the scene in the background of this thing, as it says lost and found, because Paddington was lost and now he's found. Now do your own analysis. Now find your own scene and analyze in a similar way. You can go more in depth. After you're done analyzing your scene, you could continue with two options. Create a shot list of your chosen scene, or film the scene again, but instead use different shots. So from this, I gave an example of what you could write in your shot list. Just go through a shot list, fill out a shot list, and maybe you could use that shot list to then film a scene. Now, before we say goodbye, after doing your activities, reflect on how it went and what you've learned. Reflect on what do you know about shot types, camera angles, and camera movement. What more do you want to know about? Overall, it's good to reflect. Maybe you could write this down if you have a journal. Write it down in a journal or something, or just think about it. Now we've come to the end of this lesson, and if you've made it, I thank you a lot for participating in this lesson. Of course, you can find the slides as well as the lesson plan in the description in my website. You can also find the other lesson I did about storyboarding, which involves shot types, camera angles, and camera movement. That's been it from this lesson. That's been it from me. I hope you had a good time. Please leave me feedback in the comments, and have a great day.